fantasy enthusiasts and scientists. Maybe we're not so different after all. At the very least, we're both interested in esoteric subjects that we love for its mysterious nature. Of course, on the surface, science is grounded in logic and testable theories, while fantasy is whimsical and magical. But underneath the iceberg, the genre has a hidden level of structure that holds up everything that we accept as a truth within a fantasy world. Even those who don't world build as extensively as Tolkien, the audience is able to identify a set of expectations, aesthetics, and belief that apply to only one particular high fantasy world. We expect our macroscopic world to obey the laws of classical physics. For example, if I drop a ball, it'll be another victim of gravity and it would challenge everything you believe in if it didn't. Likewise, we'd be shocked if we followed a protagonist throughout his hero's journey, only for the climax to end with him unexpectedly gaining a magical ability that allows him to kill the villain, completely unprompted and undeserved. It's a lazy way out that we refer to as a deus ex machina. The hero's journey, 3-act structure, and Save the Cat story structures exist for the reason that they provide a sense of logic and meaning between each scene, to prevent stories from becoming a series of unrelated events with no purpose. Chantal Ackerman. But what happens when we leave the logical world of classical physics and understood world building and plot structures that thoroughly explain and govern how our fantasy world works? So we enter the realm of quantum physics, where things make far less logical sense to our eyes trained to observe macro movements. In fact, things are fundamentally supposed to be uncertain and ambiguous. Knowing one thing means compromising your knowledge of knowing another. If you know how you will die, you will never live. The Green Knight takes a twist on this classic hero's journey. This randomness and ambiguity is not the same as laziness and deus machinas in the context of this film.
Why do you stop me?
However, its very esoteric nature is what draws people towards the story, serving as a comfort and a sense of understanding, or repels them away as a strange and slow delusion. It's a conundrum, ambiguous, open to interpretation, yet not so vague that we have zero structure to work with, and I would argue, the perfect representation of the spirit of fantasy. Through the course of the story, we follow Gawain, a knight in the company of King Arthur. He starts off as not exactly the definition of chivalry. Upon Christmas Day, a strange Green Knight challenges him to a duel where he says whatever is done to him, he will return the favor within a year's time. Naturally, Gawain chops off his head. The Green Knight picks up his head and reminds him of his word.
1 year hence.
A year passes and Gawain is forced to embark on a quest that leads him to a stranger world, where time is manipulated and things are not as they seem, encountering a group of thieves, a beheaded woman, giants, a mysterious fox, and a king and queen in a lonely castle. The film toys with the idea of Gawain's eventual death, even providing us with 2 alternate realities where he succumbs to the elements, and another where he escapes the fate of the Green Knight, becomes a tyrannical king, and eventually realizes he never actually escaped the fate. It's the story of a man learning to escape the comfort of an old self, while still fostering some disbelief that there will be a new self, rather than a sentence to a half-death of sorts. In other words, letting go of his old self without proof that a new one will grow in his absence represents a leap of courage and fearlessness that can be only shown by mortal heroes like Gawain. To be a hero is to be defined by taking risks despite fears, and there's no greater fear for humans than death. The whimsical and absurd journey acts like a cleansing, providing a new purpose to a short, yet meaningful life, allowing the hero's journey to be completed in an unconventional way. To me, the spirit of fantasy has always been about becoming something greater than you are and finding yourself and your courage and meaning within the moments where nothing quite makes sense, not unlike ambiguous films or quantum physics. A love of fantasy would not exist without a love of nature, a love of the green, and by extension, a love of death. And if love is too strong of a word, then at least an understanding that the green will take us all one day. Or in other words,
All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
the Green Knight showcases the smaller moments that make a person, rather than the large cinematic moments, like water chipping away at rock for centuries. Even in the original poem, Gawain is still depicted as a mortal man and someone who chooses to be good and righteous than rather simply have it ingrained in him. In the quantum world, the future can't be completely predicted, only based on probability, not unlike our real world. The popular Schrödinger's cat thought experiment represents this idea, along with the quantum property of superposition. A cat is put in a covered box with a bomb that has a 50% chance of detonation, which makes me wonder if it's the same cat we're supposed to be saving in that Save the Cat story structure. Before the box is uncovered, quantum theory says the cat is in a state of superposition, neither alive nor dead, and a half probability of each. As someone in this unique position of knowing his potential date of death, Gawain is stuck in a superposition state between a death of an old self and a rebirth of a new one. And it's this very superposition state of uncertainty that matters, pun not intended. It's where we can find meaning within the ambiguity. Unlike Schrödinger's cat, we know the answer will always and ultimately be death. Whether it comes in a year or in decades, the green will take us all. Because of its ambiguity and slow nature, the film is able to express that it's not the end that matters, and there are powerful forces at work that don't need your permission or understanding to keep working. But it's how you live your life in the present moment that defines your character. There's many elements of the film that allow for its ambiguous nature to shine and encourages viewer engagement, from the structure, cinematography, usage of alternate realities, and characters within a story that are ripe for symbolism, and what they mean in relation to each other. To me, this film truly serves as a love letter to the fantasy genre, and a good example of delivering uncertainty in cinema. Like life in general, how much someone likes The Green Knight and other ambiguous films is entirely dependent on what they make of it. This element of esoterica is integral to fantasy and quantum mechanics, but it's truly the ambiguity of the film that allows for a deeper understanding of the meaning, or at least what you make of it.
Now. Off with your head.